In today's video, I give my mom's old bedroom furniture a glamorous makeover. It's a look I know that would definitely make her heart happy. Hello people of YouTube, this is Sab with Sab's Rehabs. I am back with another video for you all. If this is your first time here, I take old, outdated, and often damaged furniture and give it a whole new look. As I stated previously, this is my mom's old dresser and nightstand. You can see that I attempted to paint the nightstand for her once before. We both weren't set on the color, so we never got around to finishing up and deciding what her furniture set should be. So this video is about finally giving her that makeover, and I know that she's gonna love what I end up doing. I start this flip like I do the majority of my flips by removing that beautiful hardware. I do go ahead and keep it all because it's so detailed and unique to this piece. And this is a Stanley furniture piece, which is usually pretty good quality of furniture and handles. So to save on cost, I go ahead and keep the handles to reuse them. Next, I get to cleaning, and I'm using some Dawn dish soap and water and a scrub brush to scrub into all that detail, and then I come back with a cloth to wipe away the soap residue, and then I repeat that whole process again with some clean water so it gets a nice thorough wash and then a rinse afterwards. Now the nightstand I previously painted and waxed for protection, so I have to treat that a little bit different. I use mineral spirits and some fine grade steel wool to scrub that top layer of wax to get it off. I don't want to get that wax down into the wood grain because that will cause adhesion issues when I go to add my paint and primer. To also be extra safe with this nightstand, I go ahead and grab my carbide scraper and scrape that top layer off just in case there is any wax remaining left behind after that mineral spirits scrub. Now, a lot of this set is solid wood and it is super duper heavy. I do know that I want to add some feet to this to lift it up off the ground. So I lay the dresser on its back so I can assess the bottom. All these dresser furniture companies make the bottoms different. So I evaluate to figure out the best way to add some additional support for this dresser, so I don't add just 4 legs on the corners, and with all that weight just on, nothing supporting the middle would make the middle eventually sag. So I remove those little back board pieces and I take measurement because I want to add a board that goes across the full length of that back side on the bottom. So my idea, which I have seen on some furniture pieces, is to add a middle board across the bottom on the middle with a little leg support. So there is some support offered in the middle. And you can see that I almost took my camera out with the additional wood that I cut off. But I just cut a piece down to that length of measurement that I took and use my Kreg jig to drill holes on each end so I can attach that into the current base that is there on the dresser. Now I was attaching this board by myself. I didn't really have a way to clamp it that easily, and my husband wasn't there to help me. So when you're attaching a board like this, attach it in an X pattern, so the bottom right corner and then the top left, and it just makes it easier to help you hold it into place and get all the screws in. And then after that, I went ahead and I drilled some set down in holes, and I'm going to do some screws. So this will have screws on the outside edge of this board to attach it to the frame, and then also going down through the board to attach it to the bottom of the dresser. Next, I did the measurement for the middle beam that I want. So I did the Craig jig pocket holes as well, and drilled a hole in the middle of this. So I have a place to screw and attach this wooden leg support that I want to add in the middle. Now, the board along the back that I attached isn't quite as tall as the front trim piece on the dresser. So when I add this cross middle bar, I get it started and then I use my leveler to set on it. So I make sure that piece is nice and level all the way across, because it's not going to be flush on both ends since they're different heights. And then finally, I added that middle wooden leg with some wood glue and a screw. So when I put the new legs on and flip it over, that middle wood piece should also touch the ground as well. So it's got support on all four corners from the legs, and then that extra middle piece that I added. After that it's time to scuff sand this surface. I do know I want to paint this piece. If you don't like the idea of me painting this piece, you know, oh well, this has been in my family since the 90s, so I can do what I want with it. So I scuff sand the entire surface. I use my Surf Prep sander and use some 220 grit sandpaper. I used just a regular flat sandpaper for all the flat areas of these pieces that I could, and then use the foam abrasive pads to get into all the curves and details. The armoire that was in the original picture at the beginning of the video, I did decide to keep that in my workshop to store all of my art supplies and stuff like that. So I'm just doing the dresser and the nightstand to match. After all that sanding, I wipe the dust away with a damp, lint-free cloth. For extra step on the nightstand, I do go ahead and use mineral spirits and some steel wool one last time after sanding, just to make sure that I have absolutely no wax residue on this set. This is a large set, so to make it quicker, I am going to paint this set with my spray gun. So I tape the sides to protect from overspray. If you're not going to spray your piece, this is definitely a step that you can skip. After that, I have everything all set up and spaced out in my spray booth, ready to spray. This piece originally had a mirror with it, which I started working on that, but through the process broke the mirror, so that didn't make it to the end anyways. There was, you know, just lots of accidents that happened with this set, but I just kept going with it, and it turned out beautiful. Now for primer today, I am using Zinsser's Behr Shellac Primer. I sprayed 2 coats through my 3M AccuSpray gun. Now when applying primer. You can paint this on, you can roll it on. Again, I am spraying to help save with time since this is such a large set. When you use a shellac based primer, cleanup is not with soap and water. You have to have some denatured alcohol or ammonia. And I have some in my workshop, but I find that I just can't get my stuff clean enough even with that. So when I use shellac, I use disposable. So I end up tossing the nozzle in my cup liner for this gun, which is one of the things I do like about my gun. So I can spray shellac if I want to and then toss it. I try not to do that too often though, because I do care about the planet and don't want to throw away a whole bunch of plastic. When spraying the drawers, I usually just spray one coat on the outside and the top of the drawers. If you get too much primer and paint and top coat, it can cause issues later when you go to put the piece back together and the drawers don't slide in and out well. So I usually just do one coat on the trim of the drawers. And then the rest, I do 2 coats over the drawer faces and the entire body of the nightstand and dresser. And then I let those coats sit overnight. I do have to admit it did feel good spraying over this nightstand, kind of my half-finished project that I never got to finish for my mom while she was still alive. So it felt good just to spray this primer on and get ready to, do it again and actually finish the project this time. After the first coat of primer, I did notice some nail holes in the wood that was more visible after the white. So I just wood filled those, let them dry, sanded them smooth before I applied my second coat of primer. The next morning, this is what I walked out to, 2 coats of primer on the dresser. And the next step is to grab some 220 grit sanding sponge and go over that primed surface just to wipe away, smooth out any dust bumpies that you get from spraying pieces. No matter if you spray, roll, or brush on your primer and paint, you're going to have either brush strokes, roller strokes, or little peaks from spraying your piece. So you have to, no matter what method you do, you have to sand in between coats if you want to get a nice, smooth, fresh, flat finish. For paint, I am using Behr Marque. This was in the mist tint section. This is like a desert pink color. It was $9 for the whole gallon. If you absolutely love this color, here is the sticker if you want to try to go get it, because it doesn't actually say the paint name on it, so I don't know what it is. But it's this nice, beautiful desert coral pink. And pink was my mom's absolute favorite color, so of course, I have to paint this bedroom set pink because, why not? So the Behr Marque paint has the little, motto that it's a 1 coat only paint. And typically when I spray my pieces of furniture, I will spray 3 coats of paint. But this Marque did have really great coverage. So with 2 coats of paint, I got complete coverage on this set. And I'm spraying my paint again through my 3M AccuSpray gun, but this is a step that you can either brush your paint on or roll it, whatever your preferred method is. And then let's take a few moments here while we watch this set go from boring white to this fabulous pink. After 2 coats of pink, this is where the set is at. I do one last final sanding This is a 400 grit sanding sponge this time to wipe away or smooth out those spray bumpies, and then I wipe that sanding dust away before the next step. I have this beautiful woodland floral transfer. It's one of the Katja transfers from Redesign with Prima, and I just think that color matches perfectly. Speaking of Katja, I got to meet her. I was invited to be a special guest at a chalk paint convention at the Redesign store in Temecula, California. I got to meet so many artists like Daniel from Other Man's Treasures and also Aida with Love Furniture. I got to take workshop classes and learn from Christina from The Reclaimed Heirloom, from Katja, and there's a little small name, Annie Sloan, that you might know. Just kidding, but yes, I got to meet the Annie Sloan. I was also given a table and some paint and allowed to create, and Annie Sloan liked my work. The weekend was full of fantastic wine, beautiful scenery, and breathtaking sunsets. It was absolutely wonderful getting to connect with these beautiful humans. The things that I learned and the laughs that we shared are definitely something that I will keep with me forever. Thank you to the ladies at Redesign for hosting a top shelf level workshop. And a very special thank you to Katja and Carlos for inviting me to be a part of your amazing weekend. And Daniel from Other Man's Treasure actually was kind enough to give me this Katja transfer, and I goofed it up. When I originally pulled it out, I wasn't paying attention to the paper backing sticking to it, so the transfer stuck. So another mistake on this set, but I promise, even with all the mistakes that I made, it still comes together to be absolutely beautiful. So I just trimmed off the part that I had ruined and used that, since it was a smaller part of the transfer, I used that for the nightstand because it has smaller sides. And I trimmed around it, checked for placement, and then transfers are really easy to use. You just peel the backing off, but don't peel it off until you are ready to stick it. I learned that again the hard way, because I can say that's probably not the first time that I've done that. But you pull the backing off and lay it down. And originally I just take my hand for the first part and just wipe it over just to make sure that it's stuck and that it's not going to fall off. And then all the transfers come with a varnishing stick in your roll, and it's very easy. You just rub with a good amount of pressure, and starting it's the hardest part, but you want to start in a corner and then work your way across the transfer and just rubbing with that stick, making sure the transfer is nice and stuck to the furniture piece and not your clear piece of paper, and just slowly pull it up. But if some of that transfer starts to come off, it is not a big deal. Lay your transfer back down and rub it with the stick a little bit more, and then it should eventually all the transfer stick to the dresser and just the clear paper come off. Then use that clear paper to rub over and smooth out any air bubbles that you might have in it. And it's just that simple. Now for the side of the transfer that I really goofed up, I tried to trim off some little fern clippings from the other transfers and piece it together just to make it not look so abrupt of a stop, but I do a little bit more to kind of blend it in better. After the transfer is applied on both sides of the dresser and both sides of the nightstand, it is time to top coat. And if you watch my channel, you know that I love using water-based polyurethanes. That's my favorite, and especially in the satin finish. And I just spray 3 coats of this, allowing it to dry an hour in between each coat. All right, through my years of experience, I feel like I have gotten pretty good at running into issues or errors and then coming up ways to fix those. And After I got the coats of top coat on, I ran into my next problem. And with some of the areas that I did heavier sanding to smooth before top coat, there got a little discoloration in the paint. And that can happen sometimes with these orangey or pinky colors. You can get a little discoloration in the paint whenever you sand some areas more than others. So I come up with an idea to cover or hide that. Now, it's the end of the day, so the lighting is not great here, so it's kind of dark. But I do take this decorative wax by Behr, and this is in the dark antique color, and I use a chip brush. And this already has multiple layers of poly, so I don't have to do a layer of clear wax. I can just go straight on with a dark wax. And I kind of laid on a little bit thick here since I do have so many coats of poly already on the piece. So I just apply a thick coat, and then I come back with some fine grade or 4/0 steel wool and wipe back that dark wax for a more blended look. And then I'll show you what it looks like the next day. So you can see that there is, with the dark wax, it just adds another dimension to this, and it hides very well that discoloration in some of the places on some of the drawers. There you go, problem solved. After all the wax, I let it set overnight, and the next step is to buff it. If you're new to my channel, I know that was weird. I just started doing it one time, and then now people want me to do it every time. So we buff it here on this channel. But I'm a weirdo myself, and I embrace weirdos everywhere. Now to help fill in the sides, because the transfer, I divided one big transfer up into 4 sides, between 2 on the dresser and 2 on the nightstand. And then of course I messed up some of the transfer, so one part of the transfer got cut off even smaller. So I have all this extra space left open on the sides. This is a word stencil I got off Amazon, and I'm using Dixie Belle's gold gilding wax to just fill in the lettering. And it wasn't quite big enough, so I just kind of peeled it up and used the word part. I only used the emblem once, but I used the word part over and over until it filled the sides. Now, the gold legs I bought are pretty brassy, and I want a more toned down gold. So I I cleaned them first, and I did the handles as well. Scuff sand with some 400 grit sandpaper, and then used that same gold gilding wax to do the legs and then the handles. Next, I removed the tape off the sides of the drawers because I'm done with all of my spraying, and put the gold handles back on, just kind of see where I'm at with the gold. And I decided to go ahead and put the gold legs on the bottom too, just to, measure where I'm at. And then of course I ran into another problem again on this set, but I fix it and I just keep trucking along. I finished drilling the holes for the new legs and attached them with the screws that come in the package. And then in true Katja fashion, I decided that that was not enough gold. So I got that gold gilding wax back out, and I put on a lot more gold. But it's gold, and you can never have too much gold. Or at least that's what I told myself. But I put gold all over the place, and this is a special, unique piece, and my mom is a special, unique lady, so I added lots of gold to make it stand out like she did. So all that gold's for you, mama. As a courtesy, I did go ahead and wipe out the inside of the dresser and nightstand just to get rid of all that dust that's inside from spraying. And then I like to use Johnson's paste wax whenever I have these wooden drawer slides, just to help protect the drawer slides from getting any more damage from the drawers sliding in and out. Now, on my Cali trip at the workshop, Aida with La Furniture gave me some of her furniture salve. So I am doing Kacha style on this dresser, and Daniel gave me that transfer, and I'm just going, you know, with all the lovely free gifts that I got. So this is the furniture wax that smells so good, and I just apply a coat of that, let it set for 15 minutes, wipe the excess off, put the drawers in, and then this piece is done. Here's a reminder of the vintage and beautiful but mismatched set that we started with. And then what it looks like now. Oh my gosh, did I run into so many issues with this piece, and each time I kind of wanted to stop, but I just kept pushing forward because I could kind of picture and see what the end look was going to be, and I knew it was going to be absolutely stunning. My mom was a gold jewelry lady, and pink was her favorite color, and she loved flowers. So this set says her all over it, and I just love how it turned out. I hope this inspired you guys that when things go wrong, keep sticking with it because your pieces can still turn out beautiful. That is all I have for you today. Until next time.